So what is the ministry doing to see to it that we have preventive measures other than responsive measures? Because, Mr. Speaker, one life lost is one too many.
Honourable Speaker, I'm really shocked to hear the answer from the Cabinet Secretary telling this Honourable House that the IDPs in Marsabit were resettled, compensated, and bursaries given to those IDPs. I think the Cabinet Secretary is misled by being told that these people have been resettled. I want the Cabinet Secretary to provide evidence that shows that those IDPs were compensated or resettled or bursaries given. Any evidence that shows that the bursaries were given and by who? Because as far as I know, there were no bursaries given to IDPs. There were no settlement at all. So if there is any evidence, the Cabinet Secretary cannot just tell this
Senator
House.
Chute, you do realize we don't have much time.
Yes.
We've understood your question. Please, let's allow other senators.
Honourable Speaker,
Let us allow other senators
Give
to
me
ask a
30
question.
Seconds, 30 seconds to conclude.
No, Senator, you've taken long enough.
But this is a
We've
very
understood the question.
Honourable Speaker, this is a very serious matter.
We've understood the question. You've made the question very clear. So it will be answered by the Cabinet Secretary. Just give other senators an opportunity. Senator Beatrice Ogola, under 1 minute.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. To the Cabinet Secretary, do we have disaster preparedness measures put in place that are gender sensitive? Because disasters affect genders differently.
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister told us that 23 guns on the incident of Tana River in Kone were taken to the for ballistic examination, and the report hasn't come out. What I wanted him to tell us is, what is the capacity at the examinations place, ballistic examinations place? What is the problem? Since January, now we are heading towards March. In fact, very soon we'll be 4 months down the road. Mr. Speaker, what is happening in the ballistic examinations place? Can he do something? Because this issue has caused a lot of tension in Tana River.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Lomenen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to ask the CS, when will he lift the ban, curfew, in between West Pokot and Turkana? Because the former CS for Interior did the same. He said that the curfew has been removed, but up to now the traders are really suffering, and there is no highway robbery in that road.
Thank you. Let us allow the Cabinet Secretary to reply to those 4 questions, and then we'll take some more supplementaries.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. On Senator Chute's response, I was clear that we don't have money for compensation. However, the support that is working together with the CDF of the constituency, among others, some of the affected have been favored in terms of bursaries, including bursaries from the county government. I also want to say that since we don't have money for resettling people, as the statement indicates, the encouragement was to make the conditions better for people to go back to their manyatas in terms of security operations, and then give them a chance to go back. And as a result of the same, a good number of them have gone back. A few are yet to go back. Mr. Speaker, on the evidence of the same, it can be provided to the Honourable Senator in writing for the same. On the question of Honourable Beatrice Ogola, we have been and we will continue being gender sensitive in terms of disaster response. If you see what the government did last year, a lot of focus was on issues that are going to affect women, the needs, specific needs of women, specific needs for children, and this will continue. and we will continue perfecting, our responses based on the experience we get from every year. And I believe that the gender-based sensitive measures are continuing going to be revised to ensure that we are effectively responding to disasters. On Senator Mungatana's question of DCI, indeed, we have a financial challenge and capacity challenge at the DCI, and we are working to address that issue because there is a backlog. If you heard from my report earlier, the situation in Kirinyaga and the one in Tana River, both are still waiting for the report of the ballistic report to come out. But in my last visit, when I went to DCI office, they made certain requests that we are trying to factor in the incoming budget. And I believe that we should be able to make it to expedite the process, because these are 23 guns, so you have to really match each one of them until you find this is the one which was owned by or used by this particular officer. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on the question of Senator Lomenen, we will assess the security situation. We continuously receive intelligence reports about the situation in Turkana, between Turkana and West Pokot, including recent activities around mining areas in Aro and the border. And we still have a dicey situation in some cases, but we lifted the ban as soon as we are ready to do so, and we can work together with local leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Joe Newtu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am just following up on the question by primary school that prevention is better than cure. So what is the ministry doing to see to it that we have preventive measures other than responsive measures? Because, Mr. Speaker, one life lost is one too many.
Honorable Speaker, in the absence of budgetary allocation in my ministry to facilitate compensation for IDPs, the county resettlement committee is engaging the IDPs to voluntarily return to their manyatas. This has become possible since the security situation has stabilized. The government commits to ensuring that upon return of the displaced persons, adequate provisions is made to provide them with food and non-food items. Previously, the ministry engaged the State Department of Public Works to assess the necessary maintenance works of Nyayo House, and they gave the ministry a bill of quantities amounting to 244 million shillings, 831,860 shillings, funds which the ministry does not have at the moment. The refurbishment will cover internal and external painting, electrical and mechanical works, including the lifts, Mr. Speaker, which are actually performing very poorly. On the measures put in place to ensure both public and government officials working there have clean water, sanitary amenities, and conducive working environment, I'd like to respond as follows, Mr. Speaker. The government has ensured an uninterrupted clean water supply, which runs throughout the week from the Nairobi City's county. Nyayo House also has reserve tanks on the rooftop of the building in case we experience water supply shortages. The State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services has also outsourced cleaning services. On the status of investigation to an attempted robbery with violence incident in Miringi-Lira area in Kerukoya town, and the death of one Mr. Murimi who was shot in the incident, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to respond as follows. On 24th of January 2025 at around 9:30 p.m., Gladys Nyambura Njuki, an M-Pesa shop operator in Kerukoya town, closed her business and boarded a motorcycle registration number provided ridden by Eric Minor to her residence in Mudhaika area. Before reaching her destination, they were intercepted by assailants using two numberless motorcycles, each carrying a pillion passenger and armed with a pistol. The criminals confronted the complainant, brandishing pistols, and forcibly snatched her handbag while demanding money. Upon hearing a distress call, a resident, Mr. Peter Karimi Kamau, aged 44 years, responded in an attempt to assist. Unfortunately, one of the robbers shot him. They also fired 2 shots into the air to disperse bystanders before fleeing the scene on their motorcycles. Police officers arrived promptly, but criminals had already escaped. At the scene, the police officers recovered 2 spent cartridges and 5 rounds of ammunition. The injured victim was rushed to Kerugoya County Referral Hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, he succumbed to these injuries the following day, on 25th January 2025. A post-mortem was done and confirmed that he had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the abdomen. Investigation commenced under the offense of robbery with violence, contrary to Section 296(2) of the Penal Code, and the reference is provided. Forensic done at the DCI headquarters by conducting ballistic examination on 2 spent cartridges recovered at the scene of crime, established that the firearm used in this incident had also been linked to the separate robbery with violence case in DCI Ruiru. Mr. Speaker, as now the suspect remains at large and the case is still under active investigation to apprehend those who are responsible. Mr. Speaker, on question number 5 by Honorable Beatrice Ogola, I wish to respond as follows. On part 1, on the level of preparedness on the mitigation of drought and floods, Mr. Speaker, the prolonged 2024 rains resulted in flooding that impacted most parts of the country. A total of 315 people died due to the floods. 58,641 households, representing 293,205 individuals were displaced, and 412,262 persons were affected. The flooding caused havoc to roads, bridges, aerodromes, railway lines, school infrastructure, and health facilities. 298,673 acres of agriculture land and 9,367 livestock were washed away. The government and partners supported the affected population with the evacuations and provision of shelter. Cut-off roads and railway lines were reopened. Further, the government distributed 3,798.1 metric tons of relief and other non-food items to affected population. Arising out of this experience, the government has strengthened early warning systems and disaster preparedness for anticipated flood risks. The government will issue timely alerts besides mobilizing emergency response efforts and awareness creation. The government is investing in climate-resilient infrastructure, flood control measures, and disaster mitigation strategies to reduce vulnerability. On part 4, Mr. Speaker, regarding mechanisms that can be implemented to enhance collaboration between Turkana County security agencies and neighboring counties to enforce livestock identification policies and ensure seamless livestock tracking and recovery, I'd like to respond as follows. The government acknowledges the importance of livestock marking for identification and monitoring in the banditry-prone areas, as well as the need for inter-county collaboration in enforcing livestock identification policies and ensuring efficient tracking and recovery of stolen livestock. Our ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Department, formed a joint committee to oversee the implementation of a GIS-based livestock tracking system. Additionally, to strengthen coordination, various mechanisms have been recommended to enhance cooperation, streamline livestock identification, and improve recovery efforts. They include the strengthening inter-county coordination of livestock management, 2, adoption of livestock identification system, 3, strengthening livestock market regulations, 4, cross-border security and regional cooperation, 5, legal and policy reforms, which includes the punishment and review of the punishment meted on cattle rustlers, among others, and finally, public awareness and sensitization programs.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is a follow-up on Senator Beatrice Ogola's question. CS, the time to prepare for disaster or management of the floods in Nyando is now. Properly speaking, the machines for doing the dikes should be happening now. Why do we wait every year, and it is very predictable, for the floods to happen in Nyando, and then we purport to bring in dikes, including our senator purporting to create dikes with his own money, and then the same story of evacuating people. Why can't we build the dikes now, in the next 2 weeks, so that when the rains come, the water is diverted and you don't have to evacuate people?
Senator Sige, under 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his response to Senator Hamida's question, the Honorable CS made reference to a reallocation of the funds that had been requested to renovate Nyayo House. I do not know whether the Honorable CS is aware that the basement to that particular building, which is actually an exit and entry to the lifts, is in a sorry state. There is leaking water or sewerage that is a serious health hazard. And secondly and lastly, whether the CS in his comment about the Maraga Task Force recommendation has plans to implement that particular report, and if so, when will that be implemented in the police force?
Those are two questions, Senator. So, Senator Mandago, final question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mine is not a question, but I'd like to ask the CS that it looks like there are too many incidences associated with KWS officers. We had an incident in Nakuru. We had an incident in Tana River. Probably your ministry should put a little bit of focus on the officers. And finally, Honorable Speaker, I request the CS probably if we could visit Marsabit, just to assess the situation. And
very well, Senator.
The other Manyatas have police come so that they can go back.